Hey everyone, welcome to the Friday live stream. How's everyone doing?
Welcome. Good.
Friday. I'm doing awesome.
It's not stinking hot out right now.
No, it's a beautiful day today, actually.
Yeah, but it hasn't been, and that's why I'm angry at global warming.
Jay, you brought a guest with you today.
No, I didn't.
Hello.
She just came.
I just showed up. It was just like magic.
This is Sharon, everybody. Sharon is a patron of the SGU. You've been a patron for quite a while. We've met in person several times.
Yeah.
We did a game show together.
Yeah,
right? Remember that?
We did. I have my Randy poster right next to me here. It's very awesome that I won at Nexus.
So Evan was out today, and I was talking to Ian, and I'm like, I'm just going to invite a patron. So I jumped on Discord, and Sharon, you were the first one, the first sucker.
I said, hey, why not? Bob, happy peanut butter and chocolate day, by the way.
Thank you. Wait.
It is, in fact, peanut butter and chocolate day today.
I didn't know that
or
existed.
at least that's what my calendar says.
How did I not know that? I am so
I'm ashamed of
disappointed
you,
in
Bob.
myself. That's
Yes.
horrible. I must celebrate with a peanut butter ice cream dinner in about 2 hours.
Bob, would you say that at any given time you always have some type of peanut butter-based snack in the house?
No. Come on, Jay. Look at me. Do I look like I do that?
No, but I mean, I know that you love your sweets.
I do, but when it happens every now and then, I don't go overboard with it. But when I do it, I do it. And,
That's good, man.
Well, I think when we're done, I'm going to walk over to Jenny's ice cream and have peanut butter and chocolate flake ice cream.
That sounds awesome.
Sounds fantastic.
Is that a local farm for you? Or because we have local farms over here that make great ice cream.
It's a shop. They're actually nationwide. You could probably get their ice cream in, fancy stores like, Whole Foods sorts of places. But Jenny's is local to Columbus.
No, I've never heard of it. Yeah, we have a local place here called Rich's Farm, and it's a legit milk farm, I guess, and they drastically overcharge for their excellent ice cream, but it's a ripoff.
It's also Ferris Acres Creamery.
Yeah, that place, same deal.
Me.
It's the same type of deal.
Yeah, fantastic ice cream, tons of varieties, crazy amounts of people, and their hours are insane. But Jay, what are you doing for dinner? Maybe we could all go to get some ice cream for dinner.
I'm having sushi tonight.
Dude, it's an easy choice. Ice cream or sushi? Ice cream.
I hear you. I can't. My problem is if I eat ice cream for dinner, it won't stop there.
Then you'll have steak for dessert?
No, it'll set me off on I'll be eating all night. I have to be very careful with what I eat because I'm still on my reduced calorie diet. So if I eat something as good as ice cream, like you remember, Bob, when I was at your house yesterday and you had pizza?
Yeah.
Did you notice that I didn't even go near it? I just looked at it and walked away. I'm like, okay, I don't want to be near pizza.
You're afraid you're going to go on a fatso binge?
Yeah, I could start throwing furniture around, and I'll get angry, and I'll start.
We should lock the cabinets, Jay. Lock the cabinets.
Junior, get the honey. Remember that movie? Oh my God,
Fatso with
Fatso.
Dom DeLuise.
Dom DeLuise.
Such a classic movie. Oh my God, we haven't seen it in a dog's age, a literal dog's age. We gotta
more than that. Let's do it.
dogs.
Yeah, I'd love to watch
Two
it.
dogs, maybe. We gotta just sit down and watch it and just laugh our ass off.
Sharon, you said you're from Columbus. Is that Columbus, Ohio?
Yes, that is Columbus, Ohio.
What's it like there?
In terms of what?
It's a very open-ended question.
Yeah, I know.
How you choose to answer that says as much.
Actually, it's a very nice city.
Uh-huh.
Lots of colleges, so we hope there are lots of smart people here.
Mm-hmm.
So
at least in the winter, yeah.
Yeah,
summer
right.
does the average IQ in Columbus
summer
drop?
probably drops off a little.
Yeah.
So.
Do you have
What's the vaccination rate like there?
Yeah, I was gonna start getting into that.
I think the last time I looked, the county that I'm in is at about 48%. So, yeah, we're a bit on the red side here. So, although right in my neighborhood, it's not. It's way blue. But they only have, I have county-wide statistics, and like that's probably about medium for the state. I think one county north of us was at over 60, but it just creeps up by a few thousand people a day, and you're not going to make much of a break in the
There's
the statistics at that number.
You guys see that New York Times app from a couple of days ago?
No.
Where you enter in your zip code, and then you see a map of your zip code with where you can put in your address as well. Yeah, with a house level map
I gotta do
Republican
it right
versus Democrat, so you could see exactly.
Oh, I'm in a sea of blue right where I'm at.
The distribution, the political distribution in your neighborhood.
Now, do you think that vaccination follows that, Steve?
Well, we know it does. It's vaccinations are about in like, what is it, like 60-70% Democrat and 40% Republican. So there's a pretty stark difference.
When I look at the state of Ohio, there's one county that has 15% vaccination.
Yeah,
county.
That's pretty low.
We're at 69% here.
Yeah.
Where'd you look, Jay?
Yeah, I'm ready to move.
This is usafacts.org.
So what's here, Jay? Fairfield County or Oxford or what?
That's the top tier. That's just the whole state.
So we're close to 70% in Connecticut?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, that's still, 70% to me is not even, we should be in the high 90s.
Yeah, but at 70, you're pretty much right around, community immunity, herd immunity. So that's good. And I think that's one of the key ways for you to determine, at least right now, should I wear, I'm vaccinated. Should I wear a mask still if it gets kind of, close in the store or whatever? And I think if you're at, in the upper 60s or 70s or 80 percentile, you don't necessarily, need to at all wear a mask if you're vaccinated, I think. Steve, tell me what you think. But if you're in a community where it's, well below average, like below 50% or whatever, I don't know what the cutoff would be, but I think that's a good way to determine whether you should wear masks in public if you're vaccinated.
Yeah, I mean, what the powers that be are saying now is that if you are fully vaccinated, it's basically optional to wear a mask, but that it's given the Delta variant, it's not a bad idea if you're going to be in a crowd, if you're going to be among many people. It's especially a good idea if you're high risk, if you're old, if you have concurrent illness, etc. Definitely wear a mask.
Yeah, or if you live with old people, right? You got to think about the larger picture. I don't go anywhere without a mask.
Yeah, I still wear it. Like I almost, the only thing I do differently is I don't wear it among close friends. Like if I get together with you guys, I don't wear it. But if I go to, I just was shopping this afternoon, I totally wore a mask in the store. Absolutely.
Hardly anybody is doing that here, but I've been taking to wearing a mask in the store. I just looked up our numbers, and it says vaccine started by population. The state's at 48.75%. But interestingly, the number of people getting vaccinated today is about 2,000 higher than it's been for about the last 2 weeks.
Yeah,
because it's probably because of how
maybe there's a little bit of push going to get people in there. So that number is higher than I've seen in weeks. Usually it's about 6,000.
Sharon, the new stance among those unvaccinated, how do I put this? The people that originally have been anti-COVID vaccine, they're not saying that they got vaccinated. If they got vaccinated, they're maintaining like the aura of following, being anti the whole thing.
Really?
And and it's, to me, it's an incredibly annoying stance because it's like, well, first off, why wouldn't you tell the truth? It's important for people to know that people are getting vaccinated. I know that the states know it because they're keeping track of every single thing that happens. But they're getting vaccinated, but they don't want the general population or their friends and family to know that they got vaccinated because of their ideology, which infuriates me.
Yeah, because if you don't tell other people that you're not vaccinated,
willing to say something, they could move people off the mark.
Right.
Well, you're depriving them of informed consent. Now they can't make decisions about themselves. So you basically then have to treat anybody who won't tell you they are vaccinated as if they're not vaccinated.
Exactly.
Right.
The whole like you can neither confirm nor deny that they got vaccinated.
Yeah.
Like really, is that really your stance now? Like that's where we're
That's
at.
a thing, really? That's a thing.
Yeah, that's a thing, dude. It's a freaking thing, and it's beyond annoying. You know, I just look at that like, just grow up, just get over yourself and grow up.
Well, it's been made a matter of political identity now. So any reason or rationality is out the window. Now it's just tribal. It's purely tribal. Right?
Yeah, and that video with that guy, I can't remember where he was, but he was in the hospital with pneumonia from COVID, saying, yeah, he's still happy that he didn't get vaccinated. He would not even knowing what happened to him now. I'm waiting till he gets the hospital bills to see how he feels about not getting vaccinated and being in the hospital.
Yeah.
Well, insurance will pay
variant,
for that too, right? They'll externalize that cost.
Some.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just
Depending on how
talking
well
to
insured he is.
Ian and I spent all day working on Nexus, and we started chit-chatting outside of work. And we're like, talking about the Delta variant and how it's ramping up. And also it doesn't mean that it's the worst version of COVID that could come from this persistence of the virus. I mean, we could get something that's 10 times worse than the Delta variant.
Yeah. Worst case scenario is pretty damn scary, and that's what's really pissing
I
me
know,
off
like we're
about this.
looking at another lockdown, guys. We could have
Bob, are you far
freaking
from your
lockdown.
microphone?
Oh shit, yeah.
Yeah, Bob, you have no microphone etiquette. You don't care.
What are you talking about, Jay?
That's better.
That's good.
Isn't that on the Volpe? Bob not talking into the microphone? Whoever's
It
got
is.
that on
It's
their
gotta
card.
be. Ian, is it on there?
Pretty sure it is.
It's on there. I know it
That's
is.
why I let it happen.
I just want people to listen extra hard when I talk. Pay attention.
Oh my god.
Bob, do you see the news that I blogged about today? Because you've spoken.
AlphaFold?
Yes.
Oh yeah,
AlphaFold.
baby. I want to talk about it on Wednesday.
All
What's
right,
the
so we
deal?
won't talk about it too much.
Holy
Oh, you
crap,
wanna talk
man.
about it?
They just
Well, give me
another
something.
study. They published another study using AlphaFold to predict the
Proteome, just the proteome of
Yeah, the
humans
proteome.
and
Well,
animals.
they're up
That's
to
it.
58%. 58%. We'll get. I guess
No.
we'll get into more detail.
Wait. You're talking as if I understand what proteome means. What is that?
Proteome it's the catalog, the database of all proteins that animals build.
Okay.
Right. So basically, they using this AI deep learning AlphaFold, which was, and I talked about this not too long ago. They basically can predict based on the amino acid sequence. They could predict how it's going to fold, and knowing how a protein folds is critical information because the way its shape, its three-dimensional shape, determines its function. So it's critical that we know the exact 3D shape. But it's very hard. It's very, very hard to definitively determine its shape. It takes weeks and months and a lot of money. But using AI, they could just on the amino acid sequence, they could determine how it folds. And with very, very high accuracy. They're not infallible, but incredibly high accuracy. So they basically predicted the entire proteome, which is all the proteins created by humans and model organisms. They predicted the proteomes for those organisms. And it basically, bootstraps and accelerates research related to protein folding, by years. I mean, the boost in research and development is going to see this. They're calling this the biggest contribution that AI has ever made to science. That's what one of the scientists are saying. And they consider it as important as the genome mapping from 20 some odd years ago. This
Awesome.
is a huge, it's big. This could be incredibly big. We'll be talking about this in a generation.
Yeah.
Bob,
Bob, just read my article about it. I linked to the Nature paper. It spans 98.5% of proteins, but it only covers 58% of the amino acid residues. It's not like they've mapped 100% of 98% of the proteins. It's the total amino acid mapping is 58%. It was previously 17%, so that's a huge increase.
Yeah, it's a huge leap. I mean, I didn't do a deep dive yet. I just read
But
one
keep in
article.
mind, that's even better than it sounds because if you're mapping the business end of the protein, that's the most important part, right? You don't necessarily need to know, and there's a lot of redundancy as well. Like if proteins have membrane spanning sequences, you've seen one, you've seen them all to some extent. Like you don't need to necessarily know exactly, what the part of the protein that hooks onto the membrane is.
Right.
But the receptor is probably unique. And so if you have mapped the receptor of that protein, even though it might be 10% of the protein, that's it. That's the business end. Now you have the information you need. And right, so that 58% is actually huge.
Yeah, and what's encouraging, Jay, check this one out. What's encouraging is that they submitted these, like, these are predictions, right? There's no guarantee, but they said, oh, this is how this amino acid sequence is going to fold, and then other scientists have looked at it and they said, oh, this is a protein that we already mapped using like crystallography where they can get absolutely like 100% accurate, and they're like, we already mapped this one and your prediction is spot on, you completely nailed it. So the confidence level is very, very high for a lot of this, and they've already won. They won some major competition that I talked about last year. So they're not infallible, but they are the best predictor of this protein folding than anybody else. Amazingly high.
Is this some sort of crowdsourced protein folding?
That's a different program. That's Fold at Home, which is the crowdsourced protein folding. This is AlphaFold, which is a deep learning
AI,
AI based folding thing. It's the same company, DeepMind, that made AlphaGo, which beat the world champion in the game of Go. It's the same company, same kind of technology.
Right. So this is just, and so we're just really just seeing, what deep learning can do for AI and can do for scientific research. We're going to, the next 20 years, we're going to see some amazing advances that will go beyond the typical, oh, look, we have an incremental advance, which is great and which is going to be common forever. But, being able to do a little bit better than incremental is great to see, and that's the kind of stuff we could see with deep learning and AI, not just small incremental. But
we should write a book about that, Bob.
This is a yeah, maybe we should.
So actually, here's an update.
You're going to say it?
Yes, we're writing a book, The Skeptic's Guide to the Future. It's the anticipated release is the first quarter of 2023, so a year and a half.
I can't believe it's that far out.
I know. However, we have completed the first draft. It's written. Draft. The book is basically completely written. Now we're just editing.
And it's just me, you, and Bob.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is so much work, so much fun. I don't think we're ever going to write a book ever again that's this much fun. Making a prediction. I'm making a prediction here. This is so in our sweet spot, Steve. Unless we do this.
I know. But I want to keep looking. We have to find another book that's going to be this cool and this much fun to write.
Right. And we could find it. But this was just so much fun, getting into the weeds, getting deep into some of this crazy technology that we may or may not see. But
my favorite part of writing the book was the creativity of trying to forecast what these technologies will do in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like what's the ultimate progression of this technology? In centuries. That's like, of course, we love doing it, but it's like, all right, you got to weed through so much baloney online and try to figure out what are the experts saying, what's within the laws of physics, what's just stupid. It's tough, and I'm sure we made tons of mistakes, but everybody does.
Sharon, somebody said, I sympathize with the guest. I think you're doing fine.
I'm totally following this. Fine.
Yeah, but you're even talking. You're getting. We've had people on where they can't push through the barrier. You know what I mean?
Heck, sometimes I can't push through. When Steve and Kara start talking, it's like,
forget it. Bob and I will chat on one of the many ways we could chat with each other, electronically, while Steve and Kara are like going at it for half an hour on the podcast. We're just like, what are you doing over there?
I totally understand.
Yeah.
I sent Steve an article today. I'm hoping that he pops in somewhere with some commentary on exoskeletons.
Yeah, I saw that. I haven't had a chance to do a deep dive on it yet.
I saw that too.
So what was that? What was that?
That people have emotional fatigue, right? About wearing an exoskeleton.
Well, cognitive fatigue, right?
Yeah. If you're
Yeah.
trying to do two tasks, you're wearing an exoskeleton which has some cognitive load, and then apparently they tried them out on a subtraction problem at the same time, and it somehow diminished the effectiveness of the exoskeleton. I
So
didn't quite catch all of it.
Yeah,
Is
so
that a
that
reflection of the psychology, or is it a reflection of the technology, the immature technology?
so what you're describing is a well-known psychological phenomenon called interference. And it basically means whenever you do anything that involves cognitive load, it reduces your performance on anything else that requires cognitive load. So you can have a standard, performance test like subtraction, for example. There's a lot of computer-based ones. It's like click every time you see a blue dot, whatever. Like you have some standardized test of attention and cognitive load, and then you have them do the test phenomenon, in this case wearing an exoskeleton suit, and then you could say, that's causing interference. It's diminishing their performance. Therefore, by definition, it involves cognitive load itself, right? It's taxing the system. And so it's interesting, that wearing an exoskeleton is not just physical. It involves, again, I haven't completely read it. My first question would be, can you diminish that with training? And you train so much on the exoskeleton that the cognitive load basically goes away.
Yeah,
which
they
is what
didn't
I would
do
suspect.
that in
But
this study at all.
Yeah.
So.
that would be the next place to go, right? If you trained on it for a year, can you do it? It's like driving, and you get there, and there was zero cognitive load because you were not paying attention, right? Did you ever do that? I mean, everyone's done that, right? Like you get somewhere and like, how did I get here? Like you were driving completely on autopilot. So like, by definition, there was less cognitive load than like if you're navigating to a new place you've never been to before, for example. But that's interesting. And that's always something that we have to factor in with any new technology, is, what is the cognitive load? That's supposed to be something that like every software designer takes into consideration. And there are specialists, the interface, engineers.
Yeah. The
that's
concept
their
is called
job.
"Don't Make Me Think."
Don't make me think, right?
Yeah.
So that's the name of that book. I read that book. It's basically, describing how to minimize the cognitive load of software, and it's called "Don't Make Me Think." And I always think about that when I'm using, for example, the electronic medical record system at work, which is horrible in terms of the interface. The back end is robust and great, but the user interface is so bad. It's like maximizing cognitive load. It's like the exact worst, Epic. It's the exact worst thing that you want, especially like you're a physician with a patient practicing doing a high level cognitive task, and you have to deal with this high cognitive load, terrible interface. I just hate it.
So people are talking about your T-shirt, Sharon. What is that shirt?
It came from the Vonnegut Library. It's a Kurt Vonnegut quote. It says, "The America I love still exists at the front desk of our public libraries."
Oh, that's cool.
I love so much. My husband bought me that.
That's cool.
Because, I'm a librarian.
Mm-hmm.
I figured, there's a few hints out there of what you do for a living. So there's no puzzle today.
Why not?
Yeah, I looked around to see if I had a whiteboard, because I would have absolutely done one, but we could not find one in the house.
Is there a quiz?
Yeah, I made a quiz.
Okay.
But I did find I found a cool optical illusion. I'll email it to Ian.
Okay.
And we could show everybody.
Which one is it, Jay?
Well, you'll have to wait and see. Would you want me to verbally describe it, or
Does it have a name? A lot of illusions have a name.
This is called the cube illusion.
Okay.
All right, does that make you happy?
Not in the slightest.
Making an email to Ian. I email Ian more than anybody else in my life now.
Ian's like, that's true.
This is like a flashing image, so if you have any kind of thing where you're affected by flashing lights, you might want to look away.
It's flashy.
I'll let you. I'll let you know when I actually put it up.
Oh, okay.
But it's not. I haven't received it yet.
Sharon, how long have you been listening to the podcast?
Wow. I feel like I kind of came late to this because I didn't even know that, skepticism, to put it in the air quotes, was a thing.
Yeah.
Although I've probably always been one. But I think I've been listening to the podcast probably 6 or 7 years. So
That's a long time.
that's a fairly long time. But I listened to it a couple of years before the first Nexus that I went to. And then I've been to 2 Nexuses, which are just the best things ever. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, the in-person Nexus
Yeah, man.
conferences are always
It's
a blast.
so fun.
Yeah, but I'm really happy that we picked to do a virtual conference again this year, because look at what's going on with the virus,
Yeah, it was the
Everything-
right choice.
I'm just thinking, we got to be really careful with that. The other thing that we found out is that when we do a virtual conference, we can spend a lot more time dealing with content and not having to deal with the physical nature of an in-person conference, right? There's so much work to do with an in-person conference that'll blow your mind. But an online conference is a lot easier to manage, so we could spend more time and put more money into our speakers.
Yeah, the
So-
state agency I work for runs a conference every year, and normally it's in person, and it's 6,500 people.
Yeah, that's a lot
so
of people.
it's a monster of a
Yep.
project.
I mean,
Okay.
that conference can cost $200,000 with that many people. Just to organize.
Wow.
So I have the image. I can bring that up.
All right, let's
man.
do it.
Video. So look away if you don't like flashing lights or can't. Is it kind of? It's not flashing very fast, is it?
Not yet. Not for us. I don't know what the
Um,
audience is seeing.
Yeah, it's kind of laggy for me too. Let me do it a different way. But it's like a motion. You can kind of.
Yeah, it has to flash. Or
Is
it
it
won't
meant
work.
to be like seemingly rotate a little bit?
I've
Yeah,
seen that
it's
one.
really good. It's a very, very good illusion. It really makes
Yeah.
makes you think they're spinning.
Oh, full like 360 degrees or just a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it just depends. I guess it depends on who you are, but let me look at it again. Yeah, they look like they're turning quite a bit.
But they're not turning at all.
I have
They're
to,
not
I have to
turning it
load
on.
it differently. So talk
All right, let's
amongst
see.
yourselves.
Let's see if Ian can fix the problem.
Talk
I have
amongst
another
yourselves.
one that's a still image if you want. I can send that.
No, it's good.
Okay.
I'll get it.
So, getting back to Nexus, we're still talking about what to do going forward. I mean, definitely last year and this year, I think we had no choice but to do a digital conference. And last year's I thought was really, really good. This year, we're really excited about it. I think it's going to be great. We have a good lineup. And it's, a lot less work. It's a lot easier to organize. As Jay said, we could put all of our effort into the speakers. And also, we could solicit speakers from around the world because it doesn't matter. Right? One of
Yeah.
our speakers is in Africa this year. Probably wouldn't have made the trip for Nexus if it was,
Right.
if they've had to physically come. So it really opens up.
And if they did, it
our
would have cost us
options.
thousands of dollars.
Right.
Think
Yeah.
about the airline tickets just to get people out.
Yeah,
here.
not everybody can be Bill Nye, who literally walked down the street to go to Nexus. Right? It was like
Yeah, right
right
down
there.
across the
I mean,
street.
that's like the dream, the dream. But that's pretty
Yeah.
rare and practically non-existent.
Yeah, I mean, there's New York talent, obviously, but we've basically plowed through that 100 times with all the
Yeah.
previous, conferences. So it was nice to be able to open up to the
Yeah, we
to
just asked
the
everybody.
world,
We,
basically.
yeah.
So the question is, so let's say next year we get to January, February, and the pandemic is basically over, let's say, without getting
Okay.
into too many details, to the point where, we are totally open to do a live conference. I'm still thinking that we should just keep Nexus virtual going forward, because I think the there's advantages and disadvantages, obviously, but I think the advantages outweigh the disadvantages, and we could leverage them so that they're really maximized and take advantage of the digital aspect of it. Plus, the other thing is, we have a studio, like we have something that I think no other skeptical conference has, which is
Us?
which is the studio, the technology, Ian, basically the expertise to pull it off, because we've spoken with other people who wanted to, I want to do a Nexus, a digital conference like Nexus. It's like, okay, first spend 10 years iterating a virtual studio, and then there we go. That works better.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
What
pretty
the
profound.
hell?
Crazy, right?
Wow. Brains are
Just-
so easy to fool.
I know, we are so easily fooled. It's a useful illusion to teach people. Like, you think your perception is rock solid?
So, Steve, I could tell you that if you have a virtual Nexus next year, that the Discordians will all rent a hotel and get together and watch it with each other.
Well, that's
Because there's such a pent-up desire for all of us to get together.
Oh my God.
that's the part 2 of this discussion. So I think if we do, because obviously people want to physically get together, but is a conference necessarily the best venue for a physical get together? Maybe it isn't. Maybe what we should do is just keep the conference where we're having talks and we want to pull in talent from around the world, and we want anybody to be able to watch it and get the information and learn, to who could just view it digitally. That may be the best way to go. And then we just have physical get-togethers in meet space that are something else, right? So you brought up one idea, which is certainly groups of people can get together to watch the conference. So sure, that's one way to do it. But 2 years ago now, guys, right, we did the No Show in Bethlehem.
That was great.
Yeah.
That was
a
fun.
ton of fun. And basically
Wow.
we did a
do you
live
describe it?
SGU show. George Prob did a musical interlude, and then we did. No, I'm sorry. The exact sequence of events was.
Who remembers?
We had a live action role
We
playing.
have a live action role playing, then a live show, then music, and then an extravaganza. We topped it off with an extravaganza. So we had like 4, highly entertainment oriented but skeptically themed of live events over the course of one day, and everyone loved it. It was fun for us. It was a lot. It was I think a ton of fun. It was much more, I think, conducive to the social aspect of getting together, because people weren't just sitting there listening to lectures. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think we should just do digital conference and then something else for physical get-togethers where we could do whatever the hell we want. Basically.
Yeah, I like that
Because
idea. I like that idea. But Steve, there are some people, like, here's another way to look at it. Some people I know are doing, or they're trying to do this year, a not TAM. They basically are going to the South Point in Vegas and just hanging out, and no conference, no speakers,
Yeah.
but they're just hanging out in the, where TAM used to be the last bunch of years.
Mhm.
And that's another way. That's another way to approach this. But I like the idea, Steve, of making a no show and expanding that, making it a 2-day thing.
Yeah.
And having these different types of events that are conducive to socialization and hanging out, and plus some, scheduled things, but also just, hanging out and,
Yeah.
not just watching people talk.
There's
You'd have to
actually
make
a
sure
group
though.
of Discordians going to Vegas.
That's cool.
Mhm.
I didn't even hear about that.
Yeah,
But
they're
you'd
getting
have
together.
to with that variation on a get together. You'd have to be very careful not to let it slowly evolve into a conference, right? Because you're like, oh, let's just invite this person, let's just invite this other speaker, and the next thing you know, you're flying people in, and it's a conference. But
or
I do
just
like
don't
that.
do that.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying you have to be
Right.
careful but to not let it evolve into that, because that's the whole point would be, one, you know, you don't want to put down $100,000 to do a conference because that's risky. You know, imagine if we did schedule a conference for this summer and it just had low turnout, an in-person conference with very, very low turnout, that we would have lost our shirt. It's very risky.
Yeah, I'm not sure what your point is. I mean, I'm agreeing that we should not do in-person conferences. We should do in-person other events.
Yeah. Yeah, like I want to go back to the Star Trek Museum. I think we should do an event around that. I haven't given it up. I want that so
We
bad.
could.
Oh, guys, look what I got right here.
Oh, look at that.
Oh,
Ah.
cool.
No show. That
was
so
a
much
fun day.
fun.
No, I think we should use that. Somebody asked, "What's a LARP?" Get out of here. What's a LARP?
LARP. Steve, come on.
go
We're
to
the
your.
weird-
You must go to
We're
your
the weirdos
retraining.
Oh,
They-
are we
go to
the
your
ones on
retraining
Allow me to be
orientation
Kara
center.
and say that I have never LARPed.
Yeah.
It's a live action role playing event. So basically, what we did was
You can't get much geekier at all.
you can, but that's okay.
Well,
Geekier
it's
than a
up there.
LARP is going to a LARP and then in the middle of the LARP playing Magic the Gathering. That is geekier. I actually witnessed that happen.
Oh,
But in
wow.
any case,
I'm not surprised.
it was a. It's basically it was like a. How long was it? Like 2-3 hours.
Yeah.
It was a very focused event, and like you're playing a character. In this case, it was the character of the people who were playing it. You know, the people who were coming it was very generic. You know, like they didn't have a long history. They just had one side of one sheet of paper. Right, that was their entire back knowledge that they had, and then you have to figure out some puzzle. So it was kind of like a murder mystery evening, or I'm sure that's what it was basically.
Yeah, it had a sci-fi backbone to it. We
Yeah.
gave everybody a character, but there was very little you had to remember about your character, and we tried to keep it as basic as possible. But really, the whole point was there was a situation that they had to figure out what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And it was fun for us because we're walking around watching people, like different groups of people had different information, and then they were inherently not trusting each other. So like you had to like work with people and share information. But Steve, I think if we do it again, a straight up murder mystery could be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Or whatever. Yeah, we'll talk about it. Yeah, but I think that kind of event, with a science fiction skeptical theme to it, is fun. Everyone loved it, even people who'd never LARPed before. I think everyone had a great time. But anyway,
Yeah, it's cool.
this is so open ended. We could do whatever we want with it. So we could certainly
I think it's
build
a good idea.
Yeah, we could build in a lot of time.
Pent up desire in the group to get
just
together.
And
we
for
have a
these
real
2 hours,
community.
we're just going to hang out and talk.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, Sharon, you're
Those
right.
people who aren't Patreons and aren't part of this of the Discord server don't know what they're missing.
Mhm.
Because I'm one of the mods there, and you know how you think about having to moderate something like that? I hardly ever have to jump in. People
Yeah.
are so reasonable with one another; it's amazing.
Yeah, it's like a
if you want to
curated
have like
group
a
of good
real
people.
conversation, it's a good place to go.
Yeah, definitely. And it's
Even the
COVID safe.
debates are, very civil.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, in a world where the online interaction could be toxic. We just have a group of rational people that are there to meet people and have a good time, and it isn't about who's smarter than the other person. Which sadly,
No, we totally appreciate all the smart people that are in there.
Yeah, right. That's the other way to look at it.
We're asking them the questions. So.
Yeah, but Steve, I want to be fair to the idea of conferences. Like, I absolutely adored going to TAM.
Mhm.
The series of conferences that we got when TAM was alive, and when during that phase of the internet, we were lucky. We were in a sweet spot bubble where that conference was very special for a number of years.
All right, but Jay, let me ask you a question. I want you to answer honestly. For the more recent TAMs that we went to, how many lectures did you sit down and listen to?
Well, we don't, typically we didn't listen to a lot of lectures because we're always interviewing people and recording.
Yeah, because we're busy.
No, you're right, though. You're absolutely right, because for me, it's about, working as an employee or a person that's on the SGU. That was our number one priority when we go to conferences. Second priority was to run events and meet. We would run mini events at TAM. We were constantly
Yeah.
like running something. You know, we had
Yeah,
a
like,
million things going on.
Did a poker night was awesome.
But you're right. I mean, I didn't sit down and watch every
Texas
event,
Hold'em.
every lecture.
I think
we didn't have time
if
for
you-
that.
When people reminisce about TAM,
It's the socializing.
it's the social part of it.
I mean, there were some
it's-
great talks there. You can't deny that. There were some great talks, but from our point of view, and we're not typical, Steve, because we had so many different things scheduled.
But you can get those great talks digitally,
Yes.
and then
separate it.
have events that you have to have in person, right?
Yeah.
So the thing is, lectures don't have to be in person. So we would do
Yeah.
an in-person. It'd
It's
be
like
more like a
teaching.
convention than a conference, you know.
It's just like teaching, right, Steve? You
Yeah.
don't need to be there to watch your teacher talk.
Right. Yeah.
So, but you can't just have it be. It can't just be though a social gathering. Like I think it has to have some teeth to it. It has to have some type of cohesion. If you wanted
Yeah.
to do a 2-day get together that has some events going on, like maybe 50% of it is an event and the other 50 is just 100% socializing.
Well, yeah, you could do like drinking on one side of the hotel and then drinking on the other side of the hotel the next night. You got to mix it up.
No, we always have one bar, Bob. You know that.
True.
Remember that we went at the last Nexus. We all went out and had dinner together.
Yep.
Right.
Can you
That
be
was
more
awesome.
specific?
Yeah, we had. What did you call it? We
And
had
all the Discord folks.
Oh
we had
yeah,
the
yeah.
I think I had like
poutine. It was the
25 people.
poutine thing.
Yeah,
Next,
that
you're
was
talking Nexus. Oh yeah, that was
Yeah,
great.
the last
That was
Nexus.
so tasty. Oof.
That was a
It
lot.
was
of
great
fun.
to see everybody.
I had the
Um,
fries.
Ian, why don't we queue up the quiz?
Okay.
Get those engines warming up, and that'll give me a little bit of time to talk about this year's Nexus.
Oh.
So you've probably heard me talk about this before, but it is part of my job is to make sure that people are aware and that people understand how awesome Nexus is going to be this year. Just go to nexusnecss.org. Take a look at our list of speakers. We have 2 people from NASA. George Church is our keynote. We have a lot of other stuff going on at the conferences. There's 2 game shows that are going to happen. One, we're going to do Boomer versus Zoomer, which is our premier game show. That's going to be on Friday night. And then we have another game show that we came up with, which is called Kin Nexus, and it's about siblings and how well do they know each other. That's going to be a lot of fun as well. And we just have a fantastic list of speakers. We're going to be covering science and technology, like amazing science and technology that exists today. We will also be talking about things that science can fix. You know, there's a couple. We're going to be talking about plastic particulate and what we can do to mitigate it. It's a big deal, and we actually talk about that on this week's show as well. I get into a little bit of an anger fest on this week's show about plastics. But anyway, go to nexus.org, necss.org, and please join us.
And Jay, we should mention, can we ask Ian, is there any way to poll the people who are in the stream right now who is going to DragonCon?
Sure. Yeah, I can do that. There's only 5 questions, right, Jay?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
So
I will send
our
some
next
links.
the first extravaganza that we'll do since the lockdown, so it'll be a year and a half since our previous one, will be in Atlanta during the DragonCon weekend. So it's Sunday, September 5th at 6 p.m. But as we say on the show that comes out tomorrow, people are not signing up for it. You know, we have obviously a small number of people have, but not enough that the promoter is going to keep the event. So essentially the plan is we're going to keep sign up open till next Friday. And if we reach our threshold at next Friday, by next Friday, then we will obviously do the extravaganza. But if we don't, then we're going to have to cancel. And we understand it's the first one. There's still it's still dodgy about the pandemic and the Delta variant and everything. You know, we were hoping there was going to be enough fully vaccinated people in Atlanta, who would feel comfortable going.
Yeah.
But I'm just curious, like how many people.
So I posted a.
I don't even know how many people are going to DragonCon this year. You know,
They say that they're going to get half the number.
Half?
So it'll probably be somewhere around 40,000 people.
I posted a straw poll if you guys want to go there and vote. Let's see.
Right. But if you want to
So-
see the first live extravaganza in a year and a half, that's in Atlanta. If enough people sign up by next Friday.
So currently 40 votes, 42 votes have come in. 88% of them, which way do you think?
Not going to
Yeah.
be there.
Yeah, 88% are not going.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, most people don't go to Dragon Con.
well, that's fair. In the world.
And it's actually a very difficult conference to attend because you got to get your hands on a hotel room, which is
Yeah.
hard.
And you don't have to be at Dragon Con. You just have to be in Atlanta to come to the extravaganza.
Also known as Hotlanta.
Hotlanta.
Nope.
Yep.
Mm-mm.
It's going to be particularly hot this year, I bet, because of what we've been seeing.
As long as the costumes are there and the dealers, I'm happy.
And the e-scooters.
Yeah,
Ha!
we always have a blast with those e-scooters.
Just
Oh,
e-scooter
wow.
around.
Wait,
if you
did
want to
they ha-
join us for e-scootering around Atlanta,
Wait, did
Just
they
try
have
and
them
find us.
last year?
Yeah.
Last time we went?
Yep.
there is a curfew though, so you have to get them early.
Ian and I have had a blast using e-scooters on SGU trips. Like we did it in New Zealand. When we were doing events in Washington D.C., we went all over Washington D.C. and saw every monument via the scooters.
I don't think anything is going to beat the DC scooter adventure we had.
That was
I mean,
awesome.
when we did it down under, it was great. That was a blast. But scooting around all the major monuments in DC at night was epic.
Yeah, it was a blast, and everything
so
was
much fun.
it was easy to get to because there's pavement, so you can get to everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did a monuments tour by night one time in DC. Not on scooter, unfortunately. That was before they had them there. But that's a great way to see them. They're so dramatic when they're lit.
Oh,
Mhm.
totally. Yeah, they look completely different than they do during the day, and they're in a way they're much more beautiful.
Actually, interestingly, when we were at the Martin Luther King Memorial, the guy who designed the lighting was there. They were doing a show about him. Somebody was like doing some little documentary thing, and he was there. Talked about the lighting.
All right, what do you think, Ian?
Yeah, the quiz is darkenergy.games. We got some people already signing up because they know the link. Here comes the link again. I also sent our private link. Sharon, you could probably join that too, right? Okay.
It's in the
I
chat.
don't know. I've got my regular link.
Well, there's you could do that too, I guess. Or you could, if you see the little chat icon on this whole platform, it should be pulsating.
The way I've got my laptop set up, it's probably easier for me to just do it on my
that's fine.
phone.
Oh, yeah, then you have your
the same
account.
thing.
That's all good.
Yeah.
So yeah, again,
Yep.
darkenergy.games, everybody.
So we have to start talking about the cover of the book.
I mean, that's going to be up to the publisher.
Yeah, but we can
Yeah.
give them suggestions and get involved. I mean, this is our second book with that publisher. They might. Be
I
a
know.
little
We'll
bit
see how
more-
it goes. What happened last time? They were like, yeah. We have our internal team that will take care of it. You know,
They did a good job.
they did. They did a good job. I mean, obviously we had there was a back and forth, and there was an approval process, but
But they were heavily influenced by my initial suggestion. Remember, like we sent them samples of things to influence them, and they dramatically did influence the design of the book.
excuse me. Yeah, I know that's true. But I mean, I just thought you were talking about more about who we're going to get to do it. But yeah, assuming we're going to use the publisher's internal people, yeah, we should give them some solid direction for the cover.
I think cartoonish retro future prediction images, like, old school rockets and flying cars and stuff like that, I think would be a fun approach. But we'll take this, talk about this later, I guess.
Lee Marsh said Bob dressed as Loki on the cover. That'd be pretty cool.
We could all be a variant. Which Loki? The alligator?
Yeah, like I like the like a space habitat could be a cool
Mhm.
cover.
I think I love, we all love just the old school conceptions of the future.
Yeah, I mean that's
think-
one way to go, but having a
Duck
more
Dodgers. What?
a more serious depiction of the future would be good also.
We
I
could
mean, it
do a
all depends
progression,
on what we
Steve.
think is, huh?
We could do a progression from like a goofy style predicting the future 100 years ago to like a serious, kind of illustrations of predictions that are much more,
Yeah. That might be
modern
a
and
little bit busy though.
to our sensibilities. But it still
Yeah.
could be a relatively simple illustration, but just not goofy and clearly not retro. But yeah, we'll talk about it.
Hmm.
All right, what do you say, Ian?
Yeah, let's do it. Well, anybody who hasn't gone already, it's darkenergy.games. We're going to synchronize just a moment. So here we go. If you can find the synchronize button, everybody, when I say click, we're going to click the button.
Whoa.
In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Click. We have a question for Sharon. What is the strangest, funniest library information desk call you've ever received?
Well, I work in a special library, so it's not really a place that just like the general public calls for regular type of questions. I do have a little list of what I refer to as some of the dumbest questions anybody's asked, and I'll give you one example. Somebody was building a new manufacturing building. The library I work in is actually involved very heavily in safety and industrial hygiene. So someone called the library and said, hey, we're building this new plant, and one of our large pieces of equipment is blocking a doorway completely. Do you think we should take the exit sign down? It's like, yes. It's pretty much, it's like, why would you even ask that question? So, but yeah, I don't have too many great examples of crazy people because fortunately I don't work in a really just standard public library, so I don't see that sort of thing.
If anybody can't see the game, just click on, I think, the logo up at the top right. Maybe your name, or there's like an SGU logo, I believe. If you're not logged in, you should be able to click into the game. There's some other... It's blank. Okay. I think we got most of the people in here. We're going to start, and if it says too far behind, remember you can just play along with what's actually happening on the screen.
Okay.
And we will try to not give away the answer before it. Here we go. And you know what? Actually, we have to do something very important.
Yeah, do it.
We have to hit. Not quiz time until we do that.
I love that.
And away we go. What color is a sunset on Mars? Orange, red, blue, or green?
I wonder when the first person
I'm
is going to
very
be
quiet.
standing on the surface of Mars. That's going to be a profound moment in human history. Yeah, I hope it happens in my lifetime. That'd be such a cool thing to see.
Try to turn myself. I'm
What?
kind of talking quietly, but I'll turn myself up. So, what color is a sunset on Mars? Apparently, blue.
That was like the last one I would have picked.
I
That
psyched
means I
myself
did a
out.
good
That was my
job.
first choice, and I changed it.
Yep, you can look it up, Bob.
I believe you, but wow.
Yeah, I thought by necessity the wavelengths would get longer. Oh well.
All right, here we go. What is the smallest unit of matter? An atom, a molecule, a neutron, proton, electron, an angstrom.
The correct answer is not present.
Uh-oh.
I looked it up, man.
I will give the second smallest unit of matter.
Why do you always got to undo everything? What is it?
Wait. Oh, I see what you were doing here.
Yeah. What is the smallest
quark.
unit of matter?
Wouldn't it be a quark?
That's
It's a quark, Jay.
no, but he's not. That's not what he was going for.
Yeah, the
It's
question
still
was
retaining
ambiguous
its
there.
properties.
You didn't say
The-
that though, but
the
but the word matter does not imply that.
Right.
Well, what
Technically
does
right.
what does
The
a
best
quark
kind is
have?
right.
Does a quark have mass?
Yeah.
Sure.
Can you hold a quark?
No, you can't have a single quark unless perhaps you were in a quark gluon soup.
Sharon,
then
did you hear
You'd
that?
be disassociated.
What the quark are you talking about? The next one is, what animal's eye is bigger than its brain? I forget how to pronounce this one. A tarsier?
Tarsier.
Is the first
Okay.
one blank on
A
purpose?
frog and ostrich. Yeah, there's only 3 options.
Yeah, if you said the smallest unit of an element, you would be correct.
Right.
We'll have to talk about the matter one later.
Substance would be molecule, but matter would be quark.
Bob, do you see what it says on the Tarsier picture I included?
Wrong.
I can't
Quiz
read it.
Q&A should be on the Wolfie. Yes.
It says
I agree.
hello.
Oh, you bastard.
Well, look at the creepy look in his eyes.
How did you know my eyes were bulging when
So
I
the
said that
tarsier's
15
eye is the
fucking
same
years
size
ago?
as their brain, apparently.
Yeah.
What mammal has the highest bite force? Great white shark, a saltwater crocodile, a jaguar, or hippopotamus?
I'll tell you right now, this is another heavily debated thing online. But I do believe I found the correct answer.
Really?
Yeah, so
I am now proof that librarians don't know everything.
Ian, go ahead and read the
I've done
extra
one
text.
right.
This should
So a
be
Jay.
great white.
Yeah.
You said mammal.
Ooh.
Great
for
white
Christ's
sharks
sake.
are fish. You meant animal or you meant
I should have said
hippopotamus.
animal. I should have said animal. Sorry. It wasn't a trick question.
But it was.
Y'all got tricked.
No, it was
Yes,
it
it
was I
Debated.
screwed up. I should have said
right.
animal. You're
Great
correct.
white had 4,000 psi, and then the others had other numbers, which were lower. Which animal helps to plant millions of trees each year? A deer, a squirrel, bears, or raccoons? I meant that plural, not a singular squirrel. Or a singular deer.
This could be my worst outing ever.
People hate my quiz tonight.
Likewise.
Yeah, but
You hate
two
my
of
quiz,
the answers
Sharon?
were
That
wrong.
would shoot likewise.
I'm
There were
sucking at
two
this one.
fails.
So squirrels, because they forget that where they hide their nuts, resulting in millions of
They
trees.
lose their nuts.
Yes, they lose their nuts, and some of them grow into trees, and that's a net positive. So millions of
Yeah.
trees grow from squirrel nuts every year.
Charlie, that's mean. Charlie said this was a watermelon of a quiz.
That's all right,
That's
Jay.
a
Can't win them
twofer.
all.
She insulted two people in
1-2
one
punch.
go.
Nice.
All I had to eat today were a handful of grapes, for Christ's sake. Cut me some slack. Ian and I were burning the candle at both
Slack
ends.
So
Don't
I
include
really
me in
got
this. Sweat it,
80%, but Jay failed on 2 questions.
Don't include me in that.
Ian, what did I tell you? What did I tell you about sharks when I was creating the quiz?
You said they're bastards.
No, I said that sharks are actually monsters. They're
Oh,
legit.
monsters. Yeah,
They
but
are
not
so
bastards.
horrifying. I know that I shouldn't hate sharks. I don't actually hate sharks, but they are so scary. Jesus Christ. Look at a great white's mouth. Did you see the picture of a guy? A guy took a picture of a great white last week that was literally going up like Jaws.
Oh, up to the boat, right? Yeah,
Oh my God, it was such a scary picture.
amazing. Oh, so the great white has a bite of 4,000 psi, jaguar 1,500 psi, saltwater crocodile 3,700 psi, hippopotamus 1,800 psi.
I failed you. I failed everyone today, and I'm
You
sorry.
did. That's okay, Jay. You tried.
Jay, it's the most memorable quiz we've done. Don't sweat it.
It's true.
Is it? This one? Why?
Well, you know.
Because of my failure?
Well,
I know
that
it's hard
does
when you're
seem to be
making
what
them
makes
last
things
minute,
memorable here.
and you're not checking them with anybody because we're all playing.
Yeah.
Right.
Adam did it pretty good, so Adam's number 1, it seems like. Or not, depending on...
Well,
There's
it's
a
tough
bunch of
because if you
wrong
got
there.
100%, it really means that you got 2 wrong.
hmm
But in all fairness, one of them there was no right answer, and the other one the answer was wrong.
Looking out for the one about the what mammal has the highest bite force. Most people picked the hippopotamus. And according to the PSI, pressure per square inch
Pounds per
measurements,
square inch. Yeah.
pounds per square inch. Sorry, the hippopotamus had the weakest bite out of all these animals.
Yeah, but they're still deadly as hell. They kill a lot of people every year.
That's what I thought of.
You don't
But
need a lot of
what kills
lot
the
of-
most people, and that's hippos.
Yeah, they're
So,
scary. They're scary. You see a hip. Imagine you're swimming and there's a hippo in the water with you. I think I would just spontaneously die just from seeing it.
Yeah, but you wouldn't be afraid to be in the water with a freaking shark.
Depends on the shark. I've been in the water with a shark, a nurse
I've been in
shark.
the water with sharks.
No problem.
Yeah.
A whale
Most
shark.
of them,
Big old nurse
most of them
sharks.
are
Yeah.
fine.
That's true, but what if a great white or a tiger shark or a lemon shark was near you? Forget it.
I'd shit
I'd
my
lose
suit.
my mind. I'd lose my mind.
I'd poke him in the eye.
Woo-hoo!
We're getting a lot of
Just-
our engineer listeners saying PSI is not force.
It's pressure. It's pounds
Pressure.
per square inch. Yeah.
You need to multiply by the area to get force.
But still,
But still,
the shark it wins.
And I think that I mean, if you said animal, I would have said shark because I know for a fact that the historical animal, extinct animal that scientists believe had the greatest bite force was the megalodon. Was the
Yeah, the
basically a
big- the
great
biggest
white
shark ever.
the
Yes,
great white shark
that-
on steroids.
That makes
They were
sense.
like 90 feet long. They were like 3 school buses
yeah.
in length. They were.
You could-
They were. I mean, they could swallow you whole without even.
Yes.
They
that-
wouldn't need to
no.
bite you to
Yeah.
I
eat you.
know. Forget it.
Yeah, they were fascinating.
Do you ever see
There's-
their teeth? You ever see a
Yes.
megalodon tooth? It's the size of your head.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
like
Yeah, they're huge.
huge.
They're
I wish they- I
friggin'
hope they-
huge.
I read a book
I
called
didn't
Meg.
see whether Bob
Gotcha.
showed off any of his toys today. I
All
thought
right.
I'd.
Oh, very
Oh,
So
cool.
Bob has monsters, and I have Mr. Rogers.
Mr. Rogers is pretty dope.
Yes.
just for anybody who is asking what Jay was talking about with the atom, an atom is the smallest unit of ordinary matter that forms a chemical element.
Yeah, element. As I said,
Right,
I said this,
right.
the smallest element, part of an element, in its atom.
Right.
And a
So
molecule is the
mistake.
smallest unit of matter that retains its chemical properties.
Right.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
And yeah, unit of matter, just pure unit of
Of matter, it's quark.
It'd be a quark. But if it's
I'm
not,
still
but if
not-
that wasn't on the list, then that wasn't on the list. So it
So the next one up are the subatomic particles.
right.
I still don't think you're right. I did research on this. We'll have to look into it.
Yeah, it's the ambiguity of the word matter. That's the problem. That's all. No biggie, Jay.
Somebody said the smallest unit of matter is a neutrino. Do neutrinos have mass?
No, they do. They have a very, very, very little amount of mass. So they don't go the speed of light. Oh yeah, you could make that argument. Neutrino or a quark.
Are they baryons, so?
They're different. They're not. Yeah, they're fundamental. They're a different class than a quark. Yeah, that's
It's just
interesting.
it's not a scientifically precise question. It's just
yeah.
it's the problem. All right, are we going to take
Yeah,
questions?
lepton.
Yeah, let's take a question.
Yeah.
Jay, people are still saying physicist. I love
I
it.
know. It's
Fucking love
you can't
that.
forget it once you hear it.
Question for Steve. Would you say that your EMR places an epic cognitive load on its users?
Yeah, it's there's a lot of jokes that go around. It's an epic failure. The Epic is the name of the system, and again, it's very good except for the user interface. The user interface, they clearly didn't, from my perspective, didn't hire user interface engineers. And
It's always the least. For most companies, they spend the least amount of
Yeah.
money on user interface.
but for this particular application, they should have spent a lot more. It would be worth it. So, like, for example, I mean, I could talk for the next 25 minutes about all the things I hate about it in the user interface. But if there are just like a number of basic things that you should follow for minimizing cognitive load on the end user of any piece of software. Like, for example, you shouldn't really have any more information on the screen at any one time than is really necessary, right? But and the screen is always a mess of information. Like, there's way more stuff on there than you need to be on there. And you also should do, I'll mention one more thing. Very basically, at some point in time, there should have been some analysis where you minimize the number of clicks it takes to get from A to B, right? Click minimization. Because every time there's an extra click in there, you have to multiply that by millions in terms of like number of people using the software and the number of times they have to accomplish a task. And there's often 2 or 3 extra steps in things that I have to do 100 times a day. It really is terrible, just terrible interface.
And they won't
I'll stop
fix it.
there, otherwise I won't stop.
They won't fix it. What's the next question?
Next question is, for a fully vaccinated person who is exposed to COVID, say the Delta variant, how long would it be before a test is able to detect whether or not they contracted it?
That's a good question. So I don't know the specific answer to that question. Like if you take, because I know there's also, it probably varies for the different tests. Antibody tests are tough because the vaccine, could give you a positive test, but you would need a test that's specific to the Delta variant, that would be able to distinguish between the effects of the vaccine and exposure to the Delta variant itself, which should become positive, within a couple weeks. But if you do a antigen test, like if you're looking for the virus itself, then that should be positive fairly quickly. As soon as there's enough virus in your body that it could be picked up by the sensitivity of the assay. So whatever the latency period is, of the virus. So now I forget exactly what that delay is, but I think it's something like by 2 weeks, you should be testing positive. So if you've had a negative test 2 weeks after exposure, you're probably okay.
What's your favorite movie blaster? I think that's for everybody.
I mean, Han Solo's DL-44, his main blaster. There's nothing even comes close to it. You want me to show it to you?
Oh, you have it? Let me see.
I think I have mine. No, I have it in the case. It'll take too long to get it out.
Take it out. I'll take mine out if you take yours out. Hang on.
Easy.
I have to. No, I have it. I actually don't even have it like near me. We'll be done
Bob?
before I get it.
I mean, a blaster. Blasters are fine, but for me, I like more ray gun style, directed energy, futuristic weapons. So Star Trek phasers, it's hard to beat that. That's definitely one of my
Jay, you
favorites.
gonna get your blaster out or what?
It's just so iconic, and also it's not only it's got the stun, it's got the dematerialize, it's got the overload. It's so many things.
You're talking about a phaser?
Yeah, Star Trek.
But a phaser's not a blaster, though.
I know, but that's why I segued away from blaster and said directed energy
I wasn't
ray
here
gun.
for that.
Yes. So so yeah, but in
Who
terms of
recognizes
blaster,
that?
I mean,
Here's Steve's blaster.
nice.
Get it totally in frame.
Yeah, because mine is in the case, and I'd have to take it out. It's too.
Sharon, what about your
too big.
blaster?
I love you guys. You're all such wonderful nerds.
I hear a butt coming.
I have no idea what my favorite blaster is. Nope, sorry.
A blaster is an energy weapon that shoots like a bolt of energy, not a beam of energy, not a ray.
Not a ray.
Yeah, not a bolt. Not any kind of like stream or anything. But and of course you can imagine they don't really exist in real life, so you can only speculate about what it actually is. We actually talk about this in our book. What is a blaster? I think it's the best way to conceive of it is that it's shooting a ball of plasma, right? because if you have hot dense plasma, that would basically behave the way blasters behave in movies, the way they're typically depicted.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
What would be
I
second
agree.
after a Star Trek phaser? That one's got to take the book in
For an energy weapon,
yeah, for directed energy ray gun type.
yeah, it's
type
pretty
of,
versatile.
Well, what would number 2 be beyond after a phaser?
I don't know.
Oh, it's the little guns those guys in Mars Attacks use. Those are classics.
That yeah, I have a couple of those. They're fantastic because not only is the shape just so beautifully creative and retro, but it has a brain in it. You could see a brain that's pulsating, which is so perfect for those evil, skull aliens, because you could just imagine that they take a brain, they grow it or whatever, and they torture a brain because they make it just activate their weapon. That's all it can do. And I just imagine the brain is screaming in the weapon because it's being tortured. And such a great, and the effects, of course, were hilarious. So that's a top 5 for sure in terms of just pure awesomeness.
Yeah, Star Trek phaser is awesome.
I love the Mark I, the first phaser rifle from the first Trek episode with Shatner.
Yeah.
Where no man has gone before. That weapon to me is just amazingly iconic. It's pure, a lot of that's nostalgia because I remember that growing up, and it's such an interesting design. But that's a favorite of mine, a personal favorite as well. Ack.
All right, next question.
We got a response that actually all weapons are energy weapons.
Well, when we say that, that distinguishes them from projectile weapons.
Yeah.
Right? So you're not throwing matter. you're
Kinetic
throwing-
energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a colloquialism.
This one's for everyone. Assuming that a woodchuck were able to do so, how much would it be able to throw before it became exhausted?
4 foot 1.
4 foot one. Okay, that's it.
Woodchuck wood.
That's actually all the questions that we got from Discord. So chat, give us some questions in the chat, and we'll peruse them.
Daryl is correct. The ZF-1 from Fifth Element, very cool weapon.
Oh, I completely disagree.
I don't know.
Completely disagree.
That scene in the movie is one of my favorites, and some of the ideas are goofy. Now this was like a rifle-sized weapon that had like 7 or 8 different distinct weapons included in it. But one of the favorites was that once it got a bead on somebody, you could, Jay, if you were standing in front of me, I could shoot over here and the bullets would all find you, which is a very, very valuable characteristic for a weapon to have, because how, like, could you imagine if stormtroopers had that weapon? Oh my God, they would actually hit people. So it's a fun, Jay, if you haven't seen that scene, it's a great scene. Great.
Of course,
how about
I've
this,
seen
guys?
it. Like, you're talking like I don't know. Go ahead.
From Deep
Okay.
Space Nine, I'm pretty sure there's a Deep Space Nine. There was a sniper rifle, an energy-based sniper rifle, that can, like, teleport to the target. Right? So in other words, you would shoot it, and then it would teleport to just wherever the target is. So you didn't even have to be in the same room with them. It would just,
Oh God.
you could
Well, how would it know
target
where to
them
go?
remotely. You'd target them like you would target anybody with a transporter.
Damn, man, that's scary.
It's a
Somebody asked the
transporter-based sniper
question-
weapon.
Somebody asked, "What's your favorite movie that is objectively bad?" So a movie that you
Objectively
love-
bad.
Yeah.
All right, I have an answer.
I have an answer too. So I don't agree that it's objectively bad. I think a lot of people do think that the movie Dune is not a good movie. A lot of people don't like it. This is the one that came out in the 80s. I think it's a great movie.
God.
Yeah. Well, it was
Really?
very
Dune's a
if you
great.
don't
Dune's
know-
an objectively awesome movie, so that doesn't count.
Yeah, that doesn't.
Steve, a lot of
Conform.
people
They're
a
wrong.
lot of people
A
don't
lot of
like
people
it.
are wrong.
Objective.
A lot of people don't want to get vaccinated either, Jay. Oh, I'm
Got
not
me
putting.
there,
I'm not
bud.
putting them in their class, but I can't imagine not loving that original Dune. I just love that movie. Maybe some of that's nostalgia, but that's such a great movie.
All right, so I'll
Can't
say there's
imagine.
one movie that I think it's an objectively horrible movie, that for some reason I watched it and I couldn't help but like it. For some reason I enjoyed the movie. And even when I'm watching, I'm like, why am I enjoying this horrible movie? And that movie is Battlefield Earth.
Yes, I was actually gonna say that. That's so funny.
Holy crap, Steve! Yeah, I agree because I just saw it because it was like some boring Saturday afternoon. And I was like, and it came on. I'm like, oh man, this piece of shit's on. And I watch it, and I'm like, you know, my expectations were so in the basement, like
Maybe
in the
that's
sub
what it
basement.
is.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So my expectations were rock bottom, and I was like, wait, I was just waiting for horrible shit, and it's like. Not a great science fiction, but it was watchable. It wasn't that
it was like entertaining in
horrific.
its own weird way.
Right, and some things were kind of cool, but yeah, I don't get. Yeah, it's all. I think expectations are key. We know how important expectations are in terms of your appreciation of a movie. Oh my god!
All right, there's one other movie.
Wait. I have to clarify my doom
right
statement
ahead.
because a couple of people made comments. I love the movie. I adore that movie. I watch it at least once a year. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that there are a lot of people who think that movie sucks.
Yeah, we get you, Jay. I just disagree with the people you're referring
clearly,
to.
Morgan Gordon doesn't understand. Morgan, I'm talking to you. I love the movie, man. It's a great movie, but it was not well received when it came out, and there are still people that say that it sucks. I thought that fit the criteria.
I mean, one problem, Jay, is that you read the book. You know, the books are classics, and then you watch the movie, and sure, you know, you can't encapsulate that book into a movie. You got to just judge it on its own basis, just as a standalone. Don't say, don't compare it to the book. That's a classic problem, I think, when you're comparing.
Yeah, I have
book
quibbles
to a
about
movie.
the adaptation because I love the series,
but that's a distinct thing. I think it's like just as a movie.
But as a movie, it's
a fun
an
movie,
awesome
good movie, great
It's an
actors,
awesome romp. Yeah,
so
without
many
doubt.
good actors.
All right,
Come
there's
on.
another movie. There's one other movie that I really liked.
Oh boy,
that is an officially terrible movie.
What?
In fact, it's
Message from
listed
Earth?
as what?
Message from Earth? No,
No.
never mind.
That was
no,
terrible.
we can't like
So
the movie.
I just looked it up. It's listed as the worst movie about Mars, but I liked it. So it's officially an awful movie.
What is it?
Well,
What do you think?
It's officially an awful movie about Mars. How many of them are there?
Total Recall.
No.
The original Total Recall, man, is painful to watch.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
There's some good moments in there, though. 2 weeks.
It is John Carter.
John
You guys
Carter.
watch John Carter?
Really?
So bad I didn't even see it.
I liked it. Though.
I didn't
That's
mind
what
it.
I heard.
Steve,
Again, I heard
Steve.
it was terrible.
Yes.
I watched
right-
it. I'm like, this is a decent movie. Why are people rushing on this movie?
Steve, I'm right there with you. I had low expectations based on reviews. I saw it like a couple years ago. I was like, wait, this wasn't that bad. And it actually had some interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Whatever. I mean, what are you going to do? And Total Recall, I saw it, Total Recall, a few months ago after not having seen it for like 15, 20 years. And I was expecting a horror show. And sure, yeah, there was some like, whoa, this is so 80s or 90s or whatever. But it was watchable. I wasn't like,
All right. Now I got to give you my Total Recall
Oh,
experience.
here we
So,
go. Here we go.
We loved Total Recall when we saw it when it first came out into the theater.
Yes, we
right?
did.
It was
great.
It was a
no
fun
question
movie.
about that. We loved it.
I watched it like 10 years ago with my daughters. So like the first time I've seen it since it was, since we were kids. And, because we have a movie night and we take turns picking a movie, and I have a reputation of picking horrible movies from like the 80s and 90s. But I'm like, all right, you guys are going to love Total Recall. This is an awesome movie, and everybody hated it. And I couldn't really defend it because it was so much worse than my memory. I'm like, yeah, this movie did not age well. It was so bad. And then a few months ago, we were all together and we were watching Total Recall. And I'm like, yeah, I saw this movie a few years ago. It's terrible. It didn't age well. And then we watched it again, and it wasn't bad because now that I was over the shock of how it didn't age. So it went from great to horrible to campy and fun.
Yeah, it does.
what I mean?
It goes into campy.
That's
and
funny, man.
And this movie, Arnold made some of the best Arnold sounds
Yes.
ever. You know what I mean? Like, you can't. What would the world be like without those sounds?
Right. So it was an interesting progression. It did get into the, all right, this is kind of a fun camping movie. It does what it does well. It's just that it is so like 1980s.
So you know what I observed in this movie, because I'm a different person when I watched it the second time than I was when I was a kid. I noticed that the lighting in this movie is horrendous. Whoever was in charge of lighting completely failed reality. It was lit so poorly. Yeah, it's lit like a soap opera. Go out back and watch it. The movie,
like somebody went straight to VCR type.
Yes,
of thing,
exactly. Exactly.
Those straight to video.
Yeah, some of the production value
soap operas
was bad. Yeah, exactly.
All right, it's meatball time. I got to go eat.
All right,
ice cream dinner time.
Oh boy.
Sharon, thank you so much.
Hey, it was
thanks for joining
Thanks,
us.
Sharon.
Yeah, thanks for having me do this.
You got it.
Loved it.
Thanks for joining me, guys. Ian, thanks as always to the audience.
Thanks, Ian.
Thanks for showing up and watching us. I don't know, just shoot the shit for an hour and a half.
Please show your support at Nexus. Come to Nexus. We want you guys to see it. It's going to be great.
And if you're a patron, there's a discount code in Patreon.
Right.
Yeah, but it's expiring, I think,
it's
today.
expiring, like
And if you want to see the extravaganza in Atlanta, you have 1 week to sign up. We'll let you know next Friday if it's on or off.
And goodbye, Evan and Kara, wherever you are.
Correct.
Good night, guys.
Bye.
Yeah.
Skeptic's Guide to the Universe is produced by SGU Productions, dedicated to promoting science and critical thinking. For more information, visit us at theskepticsguide.org. Send your questions to info@theskepticsguide.org. And if you would like to support the show and all the work that we do, go to patreon.com/skepticsguide and consider becoming a patron and becoming part of the SGU community. Our listeners and supporters are what make SGU possible.